Imagine working in the most powerful building in the world, witnessing events that most people couldn't even fathom. A former Secret Service agent has come forward with jaw-dropping revelations about his time guarding one of the most controversial political figures in modern history, Hillary Clinton. And trust me, these claims will leave you questioning everything. This is the story of Gary Byrne, a man who had a front-row seat to some of the most shocking and chaotic moments in the Clinton White House. From volcanic fights to unsettling allegations, his explosive book, Crisis of Character, pulls back the curtain on a legacy marred by controversy. So, what exactly did Gary Byrne witness? And why is his testimony causing such an uproar? Stay with us as we break it all down.
Joining us right now is former Secret Service agent and the guy who's written the new book called Crisis of Character regarding Hillary Clinton and his time watching Bill Clinton as he worked outside the Oval Office, Gary Byrne. Gary, before we talk a little bit about your new book, which is a runaway bestseller, you were posted in Turkey. Are you surprised that John Huddy is able to get that close? I mean, they've already opened up the airport. We got some live images right there. There's one of the bullet holes right there in the glass.
Yeah. Actually, what you're seeing there is something I actually experienced years ago in the early 1980s when I went to the Ankara airport. There had been an attack in the 70s, and the bullet holes were still there.
Right. It's so important to tell the terrorists we had to go back to business. And they did the same thing in Israel, too. Opened up the cafe hours after the attack took place.
Yeah, the Turkish mentality is tough. They're strong people, and I wish them the best.
When Gary Byrne began his assignment, he expected professionalism and decorum. After all, he had just come from serving during President George H.W. Bush's administration, where respect and class defined the workplace. But as soon as the Clintons moved into the White House, everything changed. Byrne claims the transition was anything but smooth. From volatile arguments between Bill and Hillary to bizarre incidents involving smashed vases and whispered rumors, chaos seemed to follow the couple everywhere.
Gary, let's talk about some of what you saw your years as a Secret Service agent with Hillary Clinton in your book that's chronicled in your book, Crisis of Character. First off, you open up talking about Bush 41.
Yes.
And you pretty much echo what many people say, solid class, and you expected to see the same thing in the transition to the Clintons.
Yes.
But who were the Clintons? How was it different?
So when I first started working protecting the Clintons, actually, they were running for office. And we heard all these rumors from Arkansas. And
what rumors?
Rumors about the president affairs and about the state police that protected him being forced to help him facilitate these things.
Troopergate?
Yeah, so that kind of thing. And we also heard these stories about their behavior with each other. Volcanic, dangerous. And
one of the first incidents Byrne recounted was a heated argument that ended with a shattered blue vase, a moment he claims symbolized the tension within the Clinton household. And if that wasn't enough, Byrne says he once spotted President Clinton sporting a noticeable black eye, hastily concealed with makeup. The explanation? Allegedly, coffee allergies. Suspicious, don't you think?
And actually, I talked to this sheriff down there one time, and I was joking with him. I said, "There's no way this guy could ever get elected." And he looked at me like he was looking right through me, and he said, "Let me tell you something, Gary. Believe everything you hear, and they will get elected.
Wow.
And they'll stay there for 8 years." He said, "It is unbelievable." He said, "They can spin manure in the gold." That's the term.
Gary, the first chapter is called The Vase.
Yes.
What's the vase story?
So I came to work one morning as a Secret Service Uniform Division officer, and before I went to my post, I went over to see a buddy on the ground floor of the White House, and he had said there had been a huge fight. The first family, Mr. and Mrs. Clinton, had a huge fight upstairs. And I know this sounds like silly, like you were eavesdropping, but you have to put yourself in that position. The White House is huge, it's old, you know, the sound travels right down the stairwells and the elevator shafts. So anyway, he said during the fight there was a crash, and when it was investigated, they found a blue vase. Now, this has been reported before as a lamp, but that's not true. I saw the vase, because after he told me the story, knowing how the White House worked, I walked right down to the curator's office, which was a couple doors down, opened the door and looked in, and there I saw a crushed, broken blue vase in a cardboard box.
In the archives room?
In the curator's office, yes, ma'am.
So then when you saw the president?
Yeah, so later on, the next time I saw the president over at the Oval Office when he came in, he had a mark under his eye. And it was a black eye, but you could see they were trying to conceal it with makeup. And I said to his assistant, Nancy Herrenreich and Betty Carey, what's that mark under the president's eye?
Right.
And they said, Nancy said, oh, he's allergic to coffee. And I said, under one eye? And so as Nancy walked into her little part of the office and I started to walk out, I turned to Betty Carey and I said, you know, I'm allergic to the back of somebody's hand.
Yeah, no kidding.
And I was just trying to spark a reaction to figure out, well, you know, what was going on.
Yeah, they weren't going to spill the beans. But, Gary, given the fact you describe, it has been described, the relationship between Hillary and Bill Clinton, volcanic, very loud. At some point, you had conversations with other Secret Service agents about what do we do? We're here to protect the President of the United States. What happens if his wife is the troublemaker?
Right. That was a topic of discussion. It kind of started out one day, in particular, I remember, as like we were joking about it. And then all of a sudden, the agent I was talking with was like, well, what would we do? I go, well, you got to protect the President. I mean, if...
According to Byrne, working for the Clintons came with its own set of challenges. He describes an atmosphere of paranoia and mistrust, with Hillary allegedly disliking the sight of Secret Service agents and even hurling a Bible at one on her detail. Byrne also claims Hillary despised law enforcement and the military, a sentiment he says created a toxic work environment for those tasked with protecting her. The former agent even stated that being assigned to her detail was seen as a punishment within the Secret Service. If true, this paints a stark contrast to the polished public image she has cultivated.
She walks in when he's doing something he shouldn't be, and you know, you got to protect the President, you got to protect her, and whoever the poor person is that's there, they're kind of on their own.
So
you know?
the scenario was if she walked in on the President with one of the women.
Right. Right. It was a concern.
Right.
And then when you take what I experienced and what other people experienced about her dangerous, angry behavior and put that together, it's, you know, it's a recipe for domestic violence.
She hated to see you guys.
She
you
did
had
not
to
like...
basically jump into a closet to stay out of her eyesight.
Well, we were supposed to. I would tell you that I never did.
One of the most jaw-dropping chapters in Byrne's book delves into the Monica Lewinsky scandal. Byrne says he personally tried to intervene, noticing how Lewinsky frequently maneuvered herself into Clinton's proximity. Despite his efforts to have her removed, she was soon granted unrestricted access to the White House.
And it got me in a couple jams once in a while, like on the road. Yes, there was this guideline that she didn't want to see people. And
here's an example. Check out this quote from your book. She said, once threw a Bible at an agent on her detail, hitting him in the back of the head. Assignment to her detail was a form of punishment handed down by passive, aggressive middle management. When her detail passed, Mrs. Clinton expected everyone to just disappear. She didn't want to see anyone in the White House halls. If the whole place were the personal executive mansion, it was insulting. She hated uniforms.
Yeah, you were giving up your life, or could be potentially giving up your life to protect her.
Right. My experience with them is they don't like the military and they don't like law enforcement. And my personal feeling, based on what I saw, is she does not like men.
Sure. Also, what about the Lewinsky affair and what you did to short-circuit it, and she overcame it, and they were unbelievably sloppy about it?
I tried to help them when I could. When it was clear to me that Monica Lewinsky was trying to put herself in the president's path all the time, I went to Evelyn Lieberman and I asked her to take some steps to have her removed. And she understood what I was saying. And I actually said to Evelyn, look, if I'm overstepping my bounds, then file a complaint. But I think it's that important. And Monica got removed for about a week, and then magically she came back, not an intern now, but with a hard White House pass that allows her to go most anywhere but the private living quarters.
In one particularly bizarre moment, Byrne claims he witnessed Lewinsky flipping up her dress to reveal her blue thong to President Clinton. For Byrne, it was a moment that highlighted the recklessness and lack of discretion surrounding the Clinton administration.
Tell us the thong story.
So one day, Monica manipulated herself into the Oval Office area, and she walked by my post, and President Clinton was actually in George Stephanopoulos' office, which was just past his dining room. And he was conferring with George, and he stepped out in the hallway, and he saw Monica coming down the hallway. And they had, you know, a few words, you know, like, you know, hi, how are you, pleasantries. And I was standing there, and by this time, like, I had been trying to usher Monica out, you know. So anyway, as they were talking, I closed the gap a little bit, and she could see me coming, so she started walking away. And as she walked past, she had this dress on, and she looked back and made sure the president was looking at her, and she flipped up the dress and showed him her blue thong. I felt like I was at It was just bizarre. It was like a nightclub.
Like you're in Cancun or something.
Yeah.
But this isn't just about personal scandals. Barnes' claims also touch on the larger culture within the Clinton White House, a culture he describes as prioritizing power over ethics. He argues that this environment allowed misconduct to flourish unchecked, raising serious questions about Hillary's leadership and decision-making abilities. In his own words, Barnes says, "The image of Hillary Clinton as a strong leader is completely false. So, why is Barnes coming forward now?" He says it's about setting the record straight, for his children and for history. Barnes claims he had to sit his kids down and explain his involvement in one of the most infamous chapters of American politics, ensuring they heard the truth from him before learning about it in school. His revelations have sparked outrage, with critics accusing him of being part of a larger anti-Clinton agenda. Barnes, however, maintains that his goal is simply to provide an honest account of what he witnessed during his time in the White House.
People are asking why you're doing this, why you're telling
So I'm
much.
telling my story because I want the truth to come out. You know, I have to look my kids in the face like everybody else. And when you experience the things that I did, 3 years ago, I had to sit down on the couch like we are with my kids, and I had them search on Google my name, Bill Clinton's name, and Monica Lewinsky's name. I wanted to tell them what had happened because they were going to study about it in school. And let's face it, some of the things that are now our history are R-rated.
And you're in it.
Yeah, and I wanted my kids to know it from their father, what had happened. And I want people to know that this image, I realize all politics has a little bit of, you know, over the top, you know, about their candidates, but this image of Mrs. Clinton, that she's a leader, is completely wrong.
And
I'm sorry.
Mrs. Clinton's machine is trying to unbook you. CNN's already unbooked you.
Yes.
None of the networks will touch you. You just mentioned George Stephanopoulos. You think they're going to tell that story on GMA?
No, and the funny thing is when people come out, like this retired Secret Service Association comes out and says, I never had access. All you have to do is go ask George Stephanopoulos. I stood right outside his door for years.
And speaking of power and influence, let's pivot to another hot-button issue that ties into the Clintons' legacy and their influence on American politics. This brings us to the controversial Citizens United case, a landmark decision that redefined the boundaries of political free speech. During the Supreme Court confirmation hearing for Judge Amy Coney Barrett, the Citizens United ruling was a focal point. The case centered around whether it was legal for a nonprofit organization to produce and promote a movie criticizing Hillary Clinton. Yes, you heard that right. This was about the fundamental right to criticize a politician.
They don't actually know what the case is about. Citizens United concerned whether or not it was legal to make a movie criticizing a politician. Specifically, Citizens United is a small nonprofit organization based here in D.C. that made a movie that was critical of Hillary Clinton. And the Obama Justice Department took the position that it could punish Citizens United for daring to make a movie critical of a politician.
What's most chilling? During the oral arguments, the Obama Justice Department was asked a direct question. Could the government ban books critical of political candidates under their interpretation of the law? Their answer: yes. This response sent shockwaves across the political spectrum. If the government could ban books or movies under the guise of campaign finance laws, what would stop them from suppressing any speech critical of those in power? This is the kind of unchecked authority that people like Gary Barnes fear. A world where questioning political elites becomes a punishable offense. The Citizens United ruling, decided by a narrow 5-4 majority, ultimately protected the right to free speech.
And the Obama Justice Department responded, yes. Yes, it is our position that if the books criticize a political candidate, a politician, the federal government can ban books. As far as I'm concerned, that is a terrifying view of the First Amendment. Citizens United was decided 5-4. By a narrow 5-4 majority, the Supreme Court concluded the First Amendment did not allow the federal government to punish you for making a movie critical of a politician. And likewise, that the federal government couldn't ban books. 4 justices dissented. 4 justices were willing to say the federal government can ban books and can ban movies and presumably could ban books as well. When Hillary Clinton was running for president, she explicitly promised every justice she nominated to the court would pledge to overturn Citizens United. By the way, Hillary Clinton said she would demand of her nominees something you have rightly said that this administration has not demanded of you, which is a commitment on any case as to how you will rule. Democrats have shown no compunction in expecting their nominees to make a promise. Here's how I'm going to vote on a pending case. Judicial ethics be damned.
But it also exposed the lengths to which powerful figures will go to silence dissent. And if Hillary Clinton's reaction to criticism during her time in the White House is any indication, this fight for free expression is far from over. So, what do you think? Do Gary Burns' revelations and the Citizens United controversy paint a clearer picture of how power is wielded in politics? Or is there more to the story that's yet to be uncovered? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.